The favorite thing about the car that I enjoy the most that is just how analog it is, how raw it feels, the sounds, the smells. You get done driving this car and you can smell it on you. You kind of smell the exhaust and you smell the air that where you've been driving. It just fills the cabin of the car. It doesn't have air conditioning. I don't listen to the radio. I just listen to the engine, listen to the exhaust note. My name is Kyle Kozer, and I drive a 1988 BMW M3. Well, I like to think that I didn't pick the car. I think the car mainly picked me. I've always been a BMW enthusiast, always had E30s and other BMWs, older cars, but kind of the holy grail was always the M3. And at the time, about 5 or 6 years ago, the M3 just wasn't in my budget. I never thought that I would ever be able to afford one, or especially being in the Midwest, I'd never be able to find one, being as rare and few and far between as they are. But out of the blue one day, a friend of mine called me from Salt Lake City, said, "Hey, I found an E30 M3, the price is right, it's dirt cheap, sounds like it needs some work. Are you interested in buying it? You should probably take a look at this car." Long story short, 4 months later after buying the car shows up on my driveway in a lot worse shape than I ever could have imagined. Had suspension damage, body damage, rust, the windshield was rusted out, the suspension was bent up underneath the car, the driver's door hyperextended into the fender, and it was just overwhelming. Like, what did I buy? I can't drive this car. I can't be seen in this car. I have to save this. I have to do this car justice and do something right. From day one, I yanked the engine out of the car and got ready to do a full rebuild. Again, I budget conscious. I just wanted to do a stock 2.3 liter rebuild. Kind of the Achilles heel of this engine is oil starvation, so I added a crank scraper and some oil pan baffles to keep the oil down in the pan and help protect the bearings from spinning. Got the engine rebuilt, put back in the car, and the car sat in storage for about 1.5 years while I saved up enough money to start working on the body and getting the paint done and repairing the rust and the suspension. Got the car out of storage and back up to a shop and started working on the suspension. Got the car on all 4 wheels again, got it rolling around, drove it around the block a few times, and felt comfortable that, all right, now it's really time to start on the body work. I knew that would be the most expensive, the most labor intensive, the most time consuming. Went back and forth on what color to paint the car. Decided I'm just going to stick with the original color. I didn't want to have to paint the door jambs or the engine bay or any interior pieces. My position where I was working at the time, one of the painters in the body shop was willing to do it on the side for me, so 1.5 years later I ended up with a shiny red car and the price was right. Along the way I was able to add different parts and pieces to the car. I added an Evo 2 front spoiler, an Evo 3 carbon fiber rear wing, AC Schnitzer carbon fiber mirrors. Another friend of mine in the Salt Lake City area called me and said that he found a set of original Recaro Evo 3 seats for sale out of an Evo M3. So I purchased those and again waited about 4 months for him to make a trip back to Wichita and finally got those installed in the car. But that's pretty much the story of the car, and it's taken about 4.5, 5 years to put back together, and finally being able to really enjoy the car and drive it. Future plans for the car are to just keep it clean, enjoy it, drive it, maybe take some road trips. Would like to do a cross-country road trip, maybe put air conditioning back in the car. Been toying around the idea with maybe a little more power, but right now it's enough power that you feel like you're going really fast, but you're not going to get in trouble.